Hey, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Notes from the Edge. I am your host, Lacy, and this is the place where we have the conversations we should have been having all along. Guess what? You ain't talking about it, so we're gonna. And today we have special guest Jon Gegenheimer. Jon is a longtime practicing attorney, elected court official, and published novelist whose work explores the intersection of law, history, morality, and human nature. Boy, we love talking about that in here. From the Griffin murders to his latest novel, Churchill versus Hitler, the Untold golf match that changed history. What an amazing title. Jon combines intellectual depth with compelling storytelling. Drawing from his experience within the legal and judicial systems, he creates stories that examine justice, conflict, leadership, truth, and moral decisions that can change not only the direction of one life, but an entire society. Through both historical and fictional settings, Jon invites readers to reconsider what they believe they know about history and to examine their own human choices beneath events that define our world. Jon, welcome to Notes from the Edge. How are you today, my friend?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. So, Jon, you built a life inside law and public service and the court system. So, how do you go from that to becoming a novelist? Walk us through kind of that transformation, that pivot, that transition.
Well, of course, in the law and in my job as an administrator, justice administrator, practicing trial lawyer, an interrogator in the services of counterintelligence, you have a lot of life experiences in those fields, and a writer really writes in essence, even though it's fiction, it's really about the writer's life experiences presented in the form of fiction. Often,
Yeah,
the line between fact and fiction is very blurry. There's a lot of truth in fiction. In fact,
yeah.
probably more truth in fiction sometimes than there is in fact. Uh,
That's a
so,
quotable line, Jon. We love
yeah,
it. We love
I'm a
it.
Charles Dickens aficionado, and he essentially wrote about his life experiences, all of his novels. In fact, for the Dickens people out there, David Copperfield really is an autobiography presented in fictional format. Um, as well, the other novelist, Victor Hugo, all of these people, he was a contemporary, but he was a Frenchman. He wrote about his life experiences. And Les Miserables is essentially about what he witnessed in France and his life experiences. And Dickens saw and actually lived on the streets of London. So, yes, and the same goes for me. What you see here in my novels is true literary fiction. It's not drugstore novel stuff. It's literary fiction, and it's intended to inform as well and to educate. And I became very educated just doing the research for these books. Uh, and it's not just a straight novel, dialogue, narrative novel, unrelated to anything having to do with the author. The closest to that is my second book, which is the Griffin murders, and that's a straight whodunit. However, that's based on my experiences as a trial lawyer and as a judicial official, because there is a compelling trial in that story, patterned
Mm,
after one of the famous trials in New Orleans, the Jim Garrison prosecution of Clay Shaw. That was the big case in JFK. Um, with who starred in that. That was Kevin Costner, who
mm.
played that the prosecutor, and it was a contrived case, manufactured, uh, and you'll see that I think anybody who has a training in the law or in even you don't have to be a trained lawyer to appreciate the way that story that chapter that trial is presented. The same thing goes for all of the stuff that you will read about in my books. In The Second Hill, the first story that was back in published back in 2011, and that story, the it begins on 9/11. Everybody knows what that infamous day is, but it ends in 2043 with the startling revelation about the story's main character, who happens to be a mysterious, very extraordinary young woman who ascends to the presidency. And it's amazing how history repeats itself, because even though that story was written in 2011, it contains an impeachment proceeding, deja vu. We saw that recently, two of them. The impeachment involves, among other things, charges that the president exceeded the War Powers Act by ordering the bombing of an invasion of Iran. Now, that was
Wow.
2011. Little did I know
Wow.
back then that what was happening, that would be happening in 15 years or so. So you can
Yeah.
see the famous adage by my favorite American philosopher, Yogi Berra, rings true. It's deja vu all over again. And you see that so much where history always repeats itself. We in
Yeah.
Churchill versus Hitler, that's about uh, uh, Adolf Hitler, who wanted to conquer all of Europe and began that with the conquest of invasion of Poland back in 1939. And you see the same thing now in that same area of the world with Putin invading
Mhm.
um, the Ukraine. It's the same thing. History repeating itself. Putin trying to expand into all of Europe, and that would be was his first step. So Ukraine is 21st century Poland when you think
Wow.
about it.
It
So again,
is. It
history
is.
repeating itself, and there's so much history that we don't know about. And I was just reading an article this morning where there's a lot that we will know about, manuscripts that are unpublished, ancient manuscripts unpublished, that you'll be able to image and feed into artificial intelligence. And it will interpret all of the vast amount of information that no human would be able to review and analyze in a lifetime, and they can do it in a matter of weeks or months. The AI models now, it's
Yeah.
amazing what it can do. You'll see a vast improvement in the way we get information and how we are able to use it.
I love that. I love that. Well, John, after spending so many years in the legal system, what have you learned about the difference between what is legal, what is just, and what is morally right? And that includes in your writing.
Yes. Today we live in an age of postmodernism. That's something that dates back, I guess, most recently, origin to Jean-Paul Sartre. Uh, and what that philosophy says is it's moral relativism, is what it is, what it really is. There's no right, there's no wrong. Uh, a boy is a girl is a boy. There's nothing absolute. The Ten Commandments is mere fluff. That's the moral code. The Ten Commandments, the Judeo-Christian Western civilization moral code. It's all embodied in the Ten Commandments, and it's foreign to other cultures, but it was something that was, as C.S. Lewis says, the Judeo-Christian ethic was something that dates way, way, way back to the ancient East, and their moral teachings are the same as
Mm-hmm.
what we find in the Ten Commandments. It's, centuries apart. We didn't have mass communication. They didn't know what
Yep.
the other person. But if everybody is thinking the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, totally independent of each other, then what they're thinking must be right, because that means it's coming from somewhere, from the Creator. They're getting it from the
Yeah.
Creator, and um, that is what I think is often overlooked today. Now, what's legal isn't always what is moral. You can legislate around morality. We see that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Relate
Too.
to
I
everything I'm
do.
saying. It's based
Yeah.
in chiefly in the French Quarter, and the main character is an associate justice of the Louisiana Supreme Court. And the Watson fellow, he's the Holmesian character. The Watson fellow is his lifelong friend. They've known each other since childhood. They meet in grammar school and they are joined at the hip there for all of their lives. And he is the assistant U.S. attorney. And they both played football at Tulane. They were honor students and on the law review and all this kind of stuff. And they go to actually, they went to Harvard Law School, but they summa cum laude graduates at Tulane and played football and go to Harvard. And they are honor graduates there on the law review, order the quaff, all that sort of stuff. So they're very brilliant, very verbally advanced. And they, as a mode of relaxation, they go to you know what the Badger is, since you were born in New
I,
Orleans?
I don't. I don't.
The
I don't.
Badger is that area that you see between the levee and the river, that strip of
Okay.
land between. You can't even find it in the dictionary because it's totally New
Yeah, we
Orleans.
make up words down there. We sure do.
Yes, we do. Land yap, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Um, and so they go on the levee and they play football. Uh,
Okay.
uh, the Supreme Court justice was the quarterback at Tulane, and the U.S. attorney was his trusty wide receiver. So they go every Wednesday afternoon and they play football on the levee, and they spot a corpse on the Badger. As they're doing this quite fortuitously, they just happen to look and see this corpse, which appears to be clothed in a black robe, and they go in and examine it. And the main character examines the corpse, much as Sherlock Holmes would have done, and he uses his powers of he has really extraordinary powers of observation, imagination, intuition, just as Holmes did. Einstein had that too. He figures a lot in my stories. And one thing leads to another. They discover that the corpse, after they turn it over, it was face down, is one of his associate justices on the Supreme Court. So there's a
Mm.
murder.
Mhm.
So the first thing that they have to, why would this happen? Is there a motive? Well, it turns out that the motive arises out of a contentious case that was just argued before the Louisiana Supreme Court involving separation of church and state.
Mm.
And the justice, using his imagination, his intuition, says somebody who disagreed with the majority ruling in that case has a bone to pick. And the associate justice, whom we just found here murdered, um, unexpectedly, she would have ordinarily been in the on the side of on the liberal side of the court, saying that the separation of church and state is founded in the Constitution. It's really it isn't. It was in a letter that Thomas Jefferson had written to one of his associates, saying that there shall ever be a separation of church and state. What that means is there shall but not be a theocracy. They didn't want to happen
Mm.
what happened in England when
Mhm.
Louis XVI took over the church. So that's what
Mhm.
that means. It doesn't mean that religion is expelled from the public square, which is what the end of the liberal side of the argument contends. The conservative side, I just stated, you can't expel. So the that the justice who was murdered unexpectedly sided with the conservative uh, theme.
Yeah, it
And
sounds fascinating.
yeah, so
Well, let's talk about your latest novel. So,
yes,
this is a really cool concept. It imagines
yes.
an untold golf match between Churchill and Hitler. What drew you to those two figures? And how did the book come about for you?
Okay. I thought this was published in 2023.
Congratulations.
We were now that was my first three were self-published because let's face it, I don't have a national name, and it's
Yeah.
extremely hard to find and to convince a publisher because you're very small fish in an ocean. There are so many books
Well, and
out
then you
there.
give your rights away and it takes years and yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Traditional
So
publishing is a whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I got the publisher, former Secretary of State in Louisiana, uh, started a publishing company years back. He read the manuscript and was impressed by it. And so his company, which is Lisburn Press, out of Baton Rouge, it's a regional publisher that's known throughout the region, the Gulf States region. And so he loved the story. What gave me the idea to write it is the state of this crazy world right now, where
Mm.
you have people, and only take, it only takes one deluded person to upset the whole world. Hitler, for instance,
Hmm.
and Putin was on the way to doing that. And so Putin reminded me of deja vu Hitler, as I alluded
Mm.
to before, and that's what gave me the idea. And so I thought, what we need today in this world is another Churchill. And it
Mm.
appears that that Churchill may have surfaced in the form of Benjamin Netanyahu, um, who stood up to him and didn't try to appease. Uh, um, I'm sorry, not Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm sorry, I'm confusing that with Iran. Is Zelensky? Is the Churchill of Europe in the 21st century? And what's his name? Um, Putin wanted to do a deal and gain some territory, and he wanted Zelensky to appease him. We see so much appeasement going on. And Zelensky
Yeah.
said, "No, I'm gonna stand my ground." That's what Churchill did. He didn't appease Hitler. Everybody else wanted to, and as they found out when he invaded Poland, they made a grave mistake.
Yes,
So
indeed.
Zelensky stood up. He's the Churchill of Eastern Europe right now. On the other hand, we have the Iranians, the invasion, the Hamas invasion, and the Iranians threatening with nuclear weapons, which really paralyzed the whole world. Whether they get and they were well on the way to that until they were stopped. And so we had another Churchill surface in the Middle East in the form of, I think, this is all my opinion, of course, Benjamin
Mm.
Netanyahu, who has stood his ground and he's not going to back down. As Churchill said, never, 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 never. He said it 5 times: surrender or appease a tyrant. You can't appease tyrants. You don't appease
Yeah.
tyrants. You're very naive if you think you can do it. Very a huge foreign policy blunder when you try to do that. So, in order to deal with people like Hitler and the Iranians and Putin, you have to get inside. You have to get into their heads to see what makes them tick.
Hmm.
And this story is alternative fiction. It's more than mere uh, literary fiction. It blends fact and fiction such that the reader's not sure whether some of the stuff which is not recorded in history could very well be fact.
Yeah.
And so what I did in the story is I included, he wrote one of the earliest biographies of Charles Dickens.
Very cool.
People don't know. Now he is the person, um, it's conceivable that Churchill would know somebody like that.
Yes.
And so he uh, Churchill hated golf, had nothing good to say about it, played maybe 2 rounds in his life. Hitler is not recorded anywhere ever played golf. So I had to make that match believable. And I
Right.
do that in the story by Hitler's taking lessons from a crack golf pro in Germany. And Churchill says the person who can teach me has to be Bernard Darwin. And he teaches Churchill how to be a fairly proficient golfer in the space of 4 or 5 months. People say that's impossible. It really isn't. Churchill was a very gifted polo player in his youth. Then that requires an extreme amount of hand-eye coordination and skill
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
athleticism. And he was very athletic. If you look at his pictures in his younger days, he's very slim, um, and not muscular, but very much fit, as you can see. And he rode horses when he was in the service. He was a cavalryman in the service, served quite a long time. In fact, he knew Valentine Fleming. They met in World War One. Valentine Fleming was Ian Fleming's father, and he died in World War One, where Churchill also served and was in many battles. So it's obvious to me that he had to know Ian Fleming, and they meet, and Ian Fleming teaches him how to play golf. And by the way, when they go to Churchill liked to drink, so they would go to this famous club, which I've been to, by the way, because I have a friend who's a Lord Justice in London on the Court of Appeals, who would take me to the Athenaeum, a very famous club in London on the Pall Mall. And uh, Churchill meets Ian Fleming there, and Ian Fleming orders vodka martini, shaken, not stirred. That's the way. That's the way he really drank them in his real life, and that's why James Bond drinks that. So Fleming joins the team. He spies on Hitler while he's playing golf because he's a very skillful spy. He spies on Hitler and he reports to Churchill about the progress that he's making. And the golfer Bernard Darwin analyzes what he hears, and he develops a plan to teach Churchill how to play golf. And the reason Churchill was interested in it, he says, I know what we're going to do. He's at Chartwell, his estate, during his dormant years when he's a member of parliament, but a backbencher with little or no influence. But he's thinking and he's watching Hitler and he's reading and he's, of course, writing. He wrote so many things, books and articles and journals. He was a master of the English language, spoken and written. He says, I'm going to play around. The way to get into a man's head is to play a round of golf with him. Now, I can speak from experience because that's what I used to do. As a lawyer, I'd play with a lot of the judges. And you can learn a lot about a person. You learn everything about a person.
By how they play golf. Yeah.
From the first tee to the 18th green, and you watch everything that person does, and you listen to everything he says.
I love it.
You'll know all about him by the time you walk off that 18th green.
Gotta observe while you're out there. Okay. Your work explores moral dilemmas and turning points. So, do you believe history is shaped primarily by these powerful institutions and systems, or by individual human beings making choices in critical moments, or both?
I think much more the latter. It's
we need to remember that, right? Human beings in critical moments. That's all of us.
And that's correct. And that's what you have with Churchill versus Hitler. Yeah. And in order to get another thing, he had to know Sigmund Freud, who was another character in the story.
Oh, you got to have Freud in there. You got to have
Freud is there. He's in a couple of my stories. And he's in the Canon Code. In fact, he is the main character in the Canon Code where they solve the mystery of Edwin Drood. But Freud, he goes to Freud's house in London, 20 Maresfield Garden Road, where Freud moved in 1938, a year before he died, mouth cancer, because they were about the Nazis were burning his books in Vienna, and they were about to burn him. So he got out. Quite a few of his siblings were executed in the concentration camps. They didn't make it out. But Freud tells him how to observe Hitler and how he'll cheat and what you have to do if he cheats.
I love it. And of course, I love it.
And of course, he does cheat. If you saw Goldfinger, the round between Goldfinger and James Bond, it's patterned after that round.
He does cheat. That's great.
He gets caught. He won't cheat, so you don't believe a word he says. Now, don't believe a word he says. Now, we see that with the Iranians. Don't believe a word they say.
Yeah.
It's deja vu again.
Yeah.
A tyrant is a tyrant.
History repeats itself. Itself. Well, Jon, where can people find you and your books, my friend?
Okay. All of the books are available on Amazon.
Love it. Love
And
it. And guys,
the
we're
first,
going to put the link down in the, John, we're putting the clickable link down with these
yeah,
episodes. So all people have to do is click on the link.
okay,
And you'll be able to go directly to John and his work. John, we always close out with 2 questions before we let our guests go. Are you ready?
okay.
All right. Question number 1. In your own life, what do you feel like you may have performed just to survive? And what did dropping that role, mask, or performance do to change your life?
Well, to survive, you have to remember what Churchill says: you never, 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 never give up. You're
Oh,
going, you're going to fail, but you
yeah.
can never give up. You keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And that's why I
Yeah.
continue to write these stories. They may not sell, but I'm not going to give up on it.
Well,
First of all,
we're
I
gonna get some
enjoy
of your
it.
books into some hands of people today. I love it. And we have a saying in here, rest is needed, but always one more try. Always one more try.
Yep.
We got to keep trying. We got to get
Yes.
back up and keep trying.
Yeah.
And we individuals are the ones that can change all of this, because to your
Correct.
point, it's the decisions we individual humans make at pivotal moments that can change it
Yes.
all.
Yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer in free will.
Yeah.
And we all are given, the Creator gave us all free will. And we are, it's up to us whether or not we want to follow the teachings. He
Yeah.
hasn't failed if we fail. We have
Yeah.
because we haven't listened.
Yeah.
And we haven't embraced objective morality, and we've yielded, many of us, to this postmodernism mindset.
Yeah. Don't yield, guys. Don't yield. Keep trying. Keep trying. All right, John, last question. You ready?
Yes.
What do you feel like we need to be having more conversations about? What are we not talking about that you feel like we need to be talking about more of?
Well, we need to, of course, there are vast differences now. You see this polarization in the country, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to debate. You have to listen to other people's views, even though you strenuously disagree with them, and then you simply tell them what your views are. It's this exchange of ideas,
Oh,
and
I love that. Exchange of
yeah,
ideas, guys. It's not hating on one another.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
when you see people uh, peacefully demonstrating in the streets, for instance, you don't throw
Mhm.
rocks at them. You
Yeah.
sit down, let's go to the coffee shop, have a cup of coffee, and talk this out.
I
There's
love
nothing
it.
wrong with that. Now, that doesn't mean you have to change your your beliefs and your values, but you have
Exactly.
to understand that other people have a right to theirs, even though you think that theirs are wrong, deeply wrong.
I love that, John. Guys out there, be willing to have an exchange of ideas and support one another even when you disagree. And my oh my, would the world be a different place? Well, John, thank you so much. We're going to send people your way. Friends out there, remember, I always ask you the same question. If you're listening today, what are you performing in order to survive? And what might dropping that mask role or performance do to improve or lighten your load? I am your host, Lisa Lacy. This has been our guest, Jon Gegenheimer. And when you find the answer, we will see you at the edge. John, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you.